Hello, today we're going to be talking about volcanoes. As you know, you should have all other technology turned off, have your writing instruments and your notes in front of you, and this should be the only technology that you have on while you are watching. We are going to be talking about volcanoes. We know a volcano is an opening in the earth that erupts gases, ash, and lava. How do they form? Well, pressure and temperature change deep inside the earth that cause rock to melt into magma. When it is less dense than rock, which it is, it rises and collects in the magma chamber. As you can see here, that there is a chamber, and we know a chamber in humanities class defines a room. So it looks like a little room, or a big room in this case, underground. When magma flows out to the surface through this vent here, it is called lava. Lava hardens and forms a crater around the vent. A crater is a steep-sided wall, basically, with an opening in the middle to the vent. Where do volcanoes form? We know most volcanoes are located at plate boundaries. They form along the oceanic ridge and trenches. Mid-ocean ridges are the ridges that are formed when two divergent plates release magma onto the ocean floor and create new sea floor. And eventually some eruptions will cause magma to come up to the surface and form islands and form shield volcanoes. So shield volcanoes are slow erupting volcanoes because it cools as it comes up. It's slower to erupt, and they form over these divergent plates. We also know that in convergent plate boundaries, there are a lot of volcanic activity in volcanoes around, like in the Ring of Fire on the Pacific Plate, because all these plates are converging into the Pacific Plate in the center. We see a ring of volcanoes around this area here. So that would be from convergent plates, and they are basically form stratovolcanoes. We're going to talk about the types of volcanoes later, but those are the places where we normally see volcanoes. Again, convergent plates at subduction zones where one plate sinks below another plate. In this case, the oceanic plate is sinking below the continental plate here, causing a lot of rocks to break and melt into the magma, which causes pressure to build up, and then the magma will rise and start forming this volcano here. And as the pressure builds up, it comes up over the surface, and then when it comes out into the areas where it'll form volcanic mountains on the continent, which is generally at the coastline here. We also have subduction zones in the ocean, like here, where two oceanic plates meet, and the more dense older plate will subduct under the younger plate. Again, there's a lot of breaking of rock, melting of rock. All that magma pressure building up comes up through the surface and starts forming a volcano, and with multiple eruptions, it'll form an island here. There are also divergent plate boundaries, as in the mid-ocean ridge, where two plates, the oceanic plates, separate from one another, forming a new sea floor. And as you can see, over time, the polarity for the iron filings in those rocks have changed, with the blue arrows and the red arrows in this picture, showing us that new seafloor is being formed, and it's mostly under the ocean. And these activity of separation will cause magma to create not only new seafloor, but some of that magma may rise up and form islands above those areas, as in the Azores Island in the Atlantic Ocean. Volcanoes also form in the middle of plates instead of at plate boundaries, and these areas are called hot spots, and those are spots where there's a mantle plume, or the rising of magma through the crust, basically through the mantle and the crust. That's an upward stream. So the magma rises above, and volcanoes will form, and through eruptions over time, it will form, it'll come up onto the surface of the water and start forming islands. So these hot spots, or a hot spot is a point on the crust immediately above this hot mantle plume that has risen up and over many, many years, thousands of years, has erupted to a point where it surfaces above water and creates these islands. Okay, so these are islands such as the Hawaiian Islands. Volcanic islands are pushed off of the hot spot because the plates continue moving. The mantle plume does not move generally, it stays in place. So as you can see in this diagram of Hawaii, there are islands that are moving in this direction because that's how the Pacific Plate is moving. The Pacific Plate is moving in a northwest direction, and the newest islands are formed above the hot spot in this area here. Let me make that red so you can see that a little bit better. So the older islands that are further away, like Kauai here, are much smaller because of erosion over time. So once that plate starts to move, Kauai has formed, and then Oahu, and then multiple smaller islands, and then Maui and Hawaii. So after an eruption or multiple eruptions, these islands form into these volcanic islands, basically, and as they continue moving over the hot spot, the hot spot will again erupt and form a new volcano, forming new islands. And as I had said earlier, because of erosion, the oldest islands are generally the smallest ones, like Kauai. So where do volcanoes form? Here's a summary. Volcanoes form at subduction zones, such as the one on the right here. Make that blue so you can see it, where the oceanic plate subducts under the continental plate here, and that damage to the rock and opening in the crust will cause magma to rise up into lava, forming volcanic mountains here. They also form at divergent plate boundaries, like here at the mid-ocean ridge, where new seafloor is created, and some of that magma rises up to the surface of the ocean, forming islands there, volcanic islands like the Azores. And we also have the hot spots, where on a plate not at a boundary, there are areas where the crust has melted and the magma plume flows upward, creating volcanic activity underwater until it reaches the top surface of the water, forming islands there. And that is still going on in Hawaii because there's a new island being formed now off of the island of Hawaii, and it will take a very, very long time before it is actually an island large enough for people to visit. So that is our PowerPoint for today. Make sure you write down any questions you may have and ask them at the beginning of class next time. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.